Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports Another Football video, and today I'm going over my 2023 NFL Playoff and Super Bowl predictions. I am finally getting around to making one of these videos Week 8. I was hoping to have done it sooner, but I've been insanely busy, and I had some time today. So I'm doing my very first playoff prediction video of the season in Week 8. Probably a good thing that I've waited, because this season has been a little bit crazy, and a lot of teams have not hit my expectations or defied my expectations. So I think it's probably best to have waited a little bit. First off, we'll look at the current NFL playoff picture. I did the top 8 seeds for both the AFC and the NFC. In the first seed, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles at 6-1. Then we have a couple 5-2 teams with the Ravens, Dolphins, and Jaguars in the AFC, and the Lions and Niners in the NFC. At 4-2, we have the Steelers, Browns, Seahawks, and Cowboys. At 4-3, we have the Falcons and Bills. At 3-3, we have the Texans and the Buccaneers. And at 3-4, in 8th place in the NFC, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Overall, I think that this is fairly representative of how the final standings are going to look, although I don't expect Houston to hold on or Tampa to hold on as well as they've started, as they've already started to fall off. But overall, I think that most of the teams will probably stay in similar spots. I have the Kansas City and the Eagles finishing as the top seed in both the AFC and the NFC. I have the Chiefs at 14-3 and the Eagles at 13-4. They've just been the most consistent so far this year. They've started off the most consistent, and neither of them have exorbitantly hard schedules. The Eagles' schedule is more difficult than the Chiefs. They have a lot of hard games in a row coming up, but then to finish off the year, they have a couple of easier ones. So I think that they could finish 13-4, but 12-5 is also very possible because of how difficult their schedule is. We have the in the AFC, we have the Ravens at 2, the Jaguars at 3, and the Dolphins at 4. The way that I organized these three is simply based on schedule and also consistency. The Ravens, I think, have been the best team so far out of these three. They have some strong wins, especially the 38-6 win this week against the Lions. The Jaguars and the Dolphins haven't been able to do that to a good team so far. And they also have only had 2 losses. Their 2 losses are better losses than the Jaguars and the Dolphins' losses were, with those being the Steelers and the Colts in their close games that they lost towards the end. So I think that the Ravens have been most consistent, and their schedule is fairly difficult, but I think that they can manage. Jacksonville versus the Dolphins. I picked the Jaguars at the 3 seed, mostly because the Dolphins' schedule is just a juggernaut, and Jacksonville has had a little bit more success against strong teams. In the 5th seed, I have the Browns at 11-6. The Browns have been very strong so far, best defense in the league. Defense is going to get you a lot of wins, even if your offense needs a little bit of help. And then at 6, 7, and 8, we have the Bengals, the Bills, and the Steelers. I currently have the Steelers on the outside looking in just because they have been the most wildly inconsistent team in the league. But the Bills really haven't looked great, and I can see them finishing 9-8 or even 8-9 with how difficult their schedule is left and how they've played so far this season. In the NFC, I have the Eagles at 13-4, the Lions at 12-5, and the Niners at 12-5. I have the Lions above the Niners simply because the Niners have a very hard schedule, and the Lions have one of the easiest schedules in the league for the rest of the season. I think the Lions could finish 13-4. I think they could finish 14-3. But because of their loss this week, how bad it actually was, that's why they're at 12-5. I can't really see them finishing 11-6, to be completely honest with you. As for the Falcons, they're in the 4 seed. I have them beating out the Saints on tiebreakers, with both of them finishing at 9-8, mostly because they have a better record in their division right now. Right now, they have 1 win over the Buccaneers, and the Saints have 1 loss under the Buccaneers. So if they have the same record in the division for the rest of the season, the Falcons will get the tiebreaker. The Seahawks in the 5th seed at 10-7, and the Cowboys also at 10-7. Seattle's just been more consistent so far this year, and I think that if they play each other, Seattle might be able to pull that out. And in the 7th seed, I have the Minnesota Vikings at 9-8. The Vikings had a pretty okay start to the season, and then their win this week against the Niners shows me that they are still a competitive team. Moving on to the divisional round. In my videos, I usually kind of describe what I have happening in the wild card round. Kansas City and the Eagles obviously get byes. And then I had the Ravens beating the Bills. I had the Jaguars beating the Bengals. And I had the Ravens beating the I had Ravens beating the Bills, Jaguars beating the Bengals, and the Dolphins beating the Browns. I just had the favorites in the AFC winning, or at least the higher seeds, mostly because I think that these are the 4 best teams in the AFC, and I don't particularly think that it's extremely close right now. I think that there's an argument to be made that the Browns are almost as good as Miami or better than Miami, but I just think that with home field advantage, the Dolphins would take a big advantage out of that, and they'd be able to convert. In the NFC, we have the Eagles at the 1 seed, so they got the bye, and then I have the Lions beating the Vikings, the Niners beating the Cowboys, and the Seahawks beating the Falcons. These would all be extremely good matchups. The Lions and the Vikings both are very offensive calibered teams. The Cowboys and the Niners are both very well balanced offensively and defensively, and the Seahawks and the Falcons are both similar in the fact to the Lions and Cowboys in the fact that they're both offensively advantaged. The only upset I have here is I have the Seahawks beating the Falcons. That's not really an upset, but the Falcons are the 4 seed and the Seahawks are the 5 seed. But yeah. Moving on to the championship games. I have the Ravens beating not the Jets. I have the Ravens beating the Dolphins. I have the Jaguars beating the Chiefs. I have the Eagles beating the Seahawks. And I have the Niners beating the Lions. I think that the Ravens, again, just more consistent than Miami, and I think that Miami's defense is going to be an issue for them in the playoffs. Their defense has not performed well so far, and the Ravens' defense has performed very well for them. Jaguars versus Chiefs, I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great playoff season this year. I think that he's going to improve from his performance last year, even though it wasn't a bad performance last year. I just think that he's going to get better, and he's going to use that experience, and he's going to dethrone Patrick Mahomes' streak of making it to the conference championship. I have the Eagles beating the Seahawks, and I have the Lions beating the Niners. The Niners beating the Lions. Mostly it comes down to defense. I think that I'm a big defense guy. I think that defense wins championships, and although all of these teams have good offenses, the best defenses are the ones that are going to rise to the top, which are the Ravens, the Eagles, and the 49ers. I think that the Lions have the best chance for an upset outside of the Jaguars. I think that they have a more balanced team than Seattle or Miami does. I think that their defense has showed up on multiple occasions, and I think that they could beat the Niners in certain situations, but I think the Niners have the advantage, especially with home field. Out of the conference championship matchups, I have the Ravens beating the Jaguars, and I have the Niners beating the Eagles to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that this will be a breakout season for Lamar Jackson's playoff career. His playoff career has been lackluster, to say the least. Took him a while to get his first win, even after his MVP season and all of his regular season success, but most of that is due to injuries. He really hasn't played a full season in his career, other than the season where he won MVP, where he played 15 games. I think that this season, if he stays healthy and plays the full season, then that will be a huge advantage for them in the playoffs. It'll be able to show us what he really looks like in the playoffs. And I think that their team around him this season has felt like it's meshing a lot. The same as it has previously, but with him being healthy, that's going to be huge for them in the playoffs. As for the Niners, I do think that the Eagles are a more consistent team, but I think that when it comes to the playoffs, the Niners are going to want it more. Last year, Brock Purdy got injured in their game against the Eagles, and I think that this year, if he doesn't get injured, I don't think he's going to get injured this year, but I think that the Niners are going to want it. They're going to want to win. They're going to want to prove that with Brock Purdy, they are the better team than the Eagles, and I think that they're going to do that. In the Super Bowl, I have them winning 20-19 over the Ravens. Both of these teams are very defensively inclined. The Niners have a more consistent offense, but I think that it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think that both of these teams are strong defensive teams, and I think that the Niners are going to run through Christian McCaffrey. I don't think that Brock Purdy is going to be the star of the show. I think that it's going to run through Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey is going to do what he's been doing all season, and I think that the Ravens are going to be missing something. I don't know. I think that the Ravens are going to have a tough time stopping Christian McCaffrey and stopping all of the threats that the Niners have. Their defense can have some issues when there's a lot of weapons to be contained, and I think that it's going to just be a low-scoring, tough game, and those are the ones the Ravens have lost this year. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.